What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. You know, we're really trying to grow the channel, pumping out 3 videos a week right now, and it's all good stuff. I feel like it's good stuff. Maybe you guys don't agree, but I feel like it's good stuff that'll help you guys catch some more bass. You know, that's the goal of the channel. That's why we put all this effort into these videos, is to help you guys catch more bass. So really appreciate you guys hitting the subscribe button, always liking and commenting. We see that, we appreciate that. And make sure you hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos that are coming. You could go back and check out all the other videos we got. There's tons of great information on the channel, so appreciate all you guys tuning in. But today we're talking about, you know, one of the most exciting ways to catch a bass, and that's going to be topwater. It's officially topwater season. You know, the water's warmed up. The majority of the bass have spawned in most of the country. So after that, they kind of start feeding on those shad. That water warms up, and they get really aggressive, and you can catch a lot of fish on topwater. Then you throw in this year, 2024, is like the record cicada hatch year or something wild going with the cicadas, and they're floating on the surface. So it's just more reason to pick up a topwater and get out there and fish this year. So I'm going to kind of dive in and give you a few tips and tricks for topwater fishing to help you guys be more successful and catch some more bass out on the water. All right, so fishing a topwater, like I said, it's one of the most fun ways to catch a bass. And really, there's no right or wrong way to fish a topwater. I mean, you literally get out there, you can visibly see the bait at all times, so you know exactly how it's working. And you can really learn a lot about, you know, kind of controlling your bait by fishing a topwater, because you can see how far that bait's moving when you twitch your rod or when you reel your reel up that line. You can visibly see that, and you can take that information and use it for when you're fishing other baits, you know, on the bottom. But, you know, like I said, there's no wrong way to fish topwater. Whether you're throwing like a walking style bait, like a spook, or a plopper, you know, something that you're just constantly winding, or like a popper style bait, a prop bait. You know, there's a lot of different options for topwater, but you know, this setup and these tips will really help you with all of those. This is kind of a universal topwater setup that I've kind of settled on. So we're going to start with like the equipment, and then we'll kind of dive into some more details as we go along. So, you know, honestly, I'm not really a big braided line guy for most techniques. You know, generally speaking, I like to throw straight fluorocarbon, but with a topwater, you really can't do that because that fluorocarbon wants to sink. So, you know, if you have your whole reel spooled up with fluorocarbon, you make a big long cast, that line's going to start to sink, and it's going to kind of have a bow up to your bait. And that's going to cause an issue because, you know, what you're going to go to twitch your bait or whatever, and it's going to not act the same as if you're throwing a braided line or a mono where it's floating across the surface. Now, you could throw a straight mono, but what I've found is mono has a lot of stretch in it. So that means that line's going to stretch if you go to set the hook or, you know, kind of reel into a fish. And whenever you start throwing some of these topwaters with bigger style treble hooks, you know, it takes a lot of power to really drive that hook into that fish's mouth. And if you're throwing straight mono, you know, sometimes there's a little bit too much stretch and you don't really get that hook drove home, and you end up losing those fish. So that's kind of where I've settled on throwing braid for my topwater. So I love throwing 40-pound braid. This is the Seaguar Tactics braid right here. And the cool thing about this is it actually comes with a little bit of fluorocarbon leader, which will kind of come into play here later. I'll show you why Tactics is perfect for topwater. But anyway, I like the 40-pound size. You know, it's super strong. I mean, you could reel in anything with this. Any freshwater fish is going to handle this 40-pound braid. And generally speaking, you're not throwing these topwater style baits around super heavy cover where you need, you know, 65 or 50-pound braid. So I like settled on the 40-pound braid. It casts super good. The Tactics is really good at casting. So basically, the other bonus of the 40-pound braid is that added casting distance. So with a topwater, you want to make sure you're getting that bait as far away from the boat as possible. So 40-pound Tactics braid spooled up on here. I got a 7-foot medium heavy rod. You know, you want a little bit shorter rod for a topwater, because this is a rod tip down technique where you're twitching this bait down. So, you know, if you had like a 7'6" rod, that rod tip would be hitting the water and you wouldn't be able to work it correctly. So I like a 7-foot medium heavy rod. Excellent overall choice. And then, so I run my braid down to here, and then I like to put a, I don't know, this is a little bit long here, but generally like a 12-inch leader from my braid. I tie an FG knot here from my braid to either mono or fluorocarbon, and then to your bait. So like I said before, you don't want to use all fluorocarbon, but using just a 12-inch leader of fluorocarbon between your bait and your braided line is not that big of an issue. It's not going to sink. You know, your bait is floating here, so it's going to float up the rest of that line, and then your braid's floating as well, so you're not going to get that big bow with a little bit of fluorocarbon leader between your braid and your bait. So you can get away with using fluorocarbon here, which, like I said, the Tactics braid comes with the leader line already, so you could literally pick this up, and this one spool of Seaguar Tactics has everything you need for topwater fishing. So it's an excellent choice for topwater fishing. Okay, so like I said, you got your leader here, and then you tie your bait onto your fluorocarbon here. So there's a couple reasons you do this. One, for the vision. I mean, you want a clear line. At least I want a clear line. So I don't like tying my braid directly to my topwater, simply because generally you're throwing a topwater in clear water. So you don't want that braided line. Although the Tactics is a nice camo color, for me, I would prefer a fluorocarbon line next to the bait that's clear. Just for some reason, if that fish is up there really looking close at your bait, he's not going to see that line coming off the front of him. Okay, second reason, and this is probably more important than the first reason with the clear line, is this really helps with tangling of the front hook. So with braided line, the front hook on your topwater always likes to get tangled like that whenever you're making a cast or working the bait, and the fluorocarbon or mono really eliminates that problem. So it just saves you a bunch of aggravation on the water, and the more productive cast you have, the more opportunity that you're going to catch more fish. So the leader is an absolute must for that reason alone. You know, just saving yourself the tangles in the front of the bait, the front hook getting tangled. I don't know the exact reason, but that braided line loves to get tangled on that front hook if you throw straight braid. So adding the leader is a must for that reason. Okay, now we get down to the baits. I mean, like I said, there's not a wrong way to fish a topwater. There's really not a wrong topwater bait to throw. For me, I generally like throwing walking style baits for that kind of more in-between structure. You know, I'm not throwing it necessarily at a specific piece of structure. If I'm throwing at a very specific piece of structure, I like a little bit slower bait, you know, like a popper or a prop bait, something like that. But, you know, a walking style bait, can't go wrong with that. Okay, so talking about the hooks, you want to make sure you upgrade your hooks. I like using the Trocar round bend style hooks on a topwater. You know, I really don't like using those EWG style hooks where that hook point is facing in. You know, I want more of those round bend style where that hook point is perfectly straight up and down, just in case a fish swipes at it or whatnot. But you can upgrade your hooks a little bit bigger size than comes on the bait. Never a bad thing. Have a little bit bigger hook just in case that fish kind of swipes at it and misses at it. And then another option that'll help you get a few more fish in the boat is adding a feathered treble hook to the back. So I don't do this all the times, but certain situations I will add that feathered treble hook to the back. It adds a little bit more flash and almost acts as a tail on the back of that bait right there. So you know, I actually have a video on the channel on how to tie these. If you guys are interested in tying your own, that's what I do. But really simple and really easy to do to upgrade your chances at getting some bites in the boat. So hopefully you guys learned something from the little topwater setup video. You can use any of these tips and kind of tweak them to make them your own and get out there and catch some more fish on some topwater. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. Leave me those likes and comments down below as always, and we'll see you guys next time.